Maybe it's an indication of how completely insane the world feels now, but I recently found myself in the mood for some good old fashion, comfortable nostalgia, and I decided to rewatch The OC. I thought I'd share my opinions on this due to my Pulitzer Prize winning documentation of the Riverdale TV series. And in a lot of ways, I think Riverdale is like an insane evolutionary spoke of the OC. But even the OC itself, watching this show in 2026 is a really, really wild time. Now, I have no doubt that there are certain viewers who are watching this video who are too young to know what the OC was and what it meant to a certain generation. And I just want to let those viewers know, I don't care. You will sit there and listen to this. The OC was the biggest show in early 2000s. World. There was nothing bigger or nothing cooler than this show. I could remember a strict divide starting to open up between me and my friends when I wanted to watch Scrubs on a Monday night and they wanted to watch the OC. It was everywhere. It was massively influential on fashion and culture and just was this absolute phenomena. This just peak teen drama that was just everywhere in pop culture. Everyone was watching the OC, and it also had one of the biggest fall-offs of all time in the very controversial and decisive season 4, which we will get to. First episode starts with this troubled little kind of surfery looking boy named Ryan. And Ryan comes from a bad home. He comes from Chino, which they mention like 8,000 times over the course of the show. And he gets arrested after getting into a kerfuffle where he meets a generous lawyer, Sandy Cohen. And Sandy decides that he's going to adopt this troubled young man, bringing him into the good life of California. Sandy does this because he's just a really good dude. Here, Ryan meets Seth. And Seth is like this kind of... Seth's interesting because Seth was like this kind of nerdy, kind of comic book lover, like real kind of sci-fi enthusiast character. And there were characters like that in a lot of teen drama up till now, but unusually for this show, it was Seth who kind of became the real heartthrob. Adam Brody was like this just massively, massively popular character among girls and people who were into boys. And him and Ryan provided this double act where it was like this widespread for if you liked dudes, there was likely something in this show for you. They were rounded out by Marissa, Ryan and Seth's next door neighbor, and this really cool bohemian girl next door played by Misha Barton, as well as her best friend, Summer, who is this kind of very sort of cutesy but very rich, a little bit airheaded in her mannerisms, but not actually. Like in the show, she is actually quite an intelligent character. She's just kind of weird and funny. And I think the best way to think about these four characters is they are kind of like the same setup you get in Archie Comics or Riverdale. Ryan is like the kind of straight-laced, no-nonsense Archie Andrews. Seth is the jughead. Marissa is the cool next door. She is the Betty. And Veronica is the high society, well-to-do Summer. It's a classic setup. It's been used in more shows than this, but it is a kind of particularly good one here. And I think a huge part of that is just like the cast. The OC had like an incredible cast, all of whom were like really good at their special little niches. Like take Ryan Atwood, played by Ben McKenzie. This was like a kind of interesting cross between like the bad boy and boy who played Final Fantasy VIII once and made it his entire personality. Just very kind of sullen, very quiet, never says anything more than he needs to, but McKenzie plays it off with like a genuine kind of charisma that's like really kind of captivating and interesting. And Adam Brody playing Seth Cohen is just genuinely fucking awesome in this show. It's a really like spirited, kind of weirdly nuanced approach to the kind of nerd character where he's like very sarcastic and very kind of like avoidant of any kind of confrontation, but like there's enough humanity there and comic timing that like whenever Seth's on screen, it's just kind of fun. And I'd say like it's the same for Summer and Marissa. Marissa particularly, like whatever it is about Misha Barton, she just does have that kind of quiet charisma, like that just X factor where like it's very difficult, even when she's not delivering like great lines, she just has that kind of intangible thing that makes her entertaining to watch. And massively more so even with Summer, played by Rachel Bilson, who is just exceptionally funny, so good at like just delivering weird little lines. Her and Seth have amazing chemistry, maybe possibly because they were actually dating in real life, in which the show actually kind of pokes fun at them in certain places. It was kind of just a blast watching these four characters interact, and it meant that the OC never really needed to have like really insane storylines or like these massive big fucking insane escalations of something like Riverdale. Like, there are so many episodes of this show where the story is that like Ryan goes to a party and gets in a fight with someone, or the gang sneak into an abandoned shopping mall, or just like these really mundane, down-to-earth scenarios that are really backed up by some great acting and actually like really decent writing. If you cannot tell already, I was surprised how much I loved going back to the OC. It's kind of crazy going back to the OC and watching it now in comparison to something like Riverdale, because Riverdale like is exploding with rapture bombing cults and giant gargoyle monsters and time travel and universe hopping and all this kind of stuff. And the OC is like, man, this girl did too much drugs down at the beach and now it's a problem. And it's like, it's interesting, but I think just a lot of it, and it's like, I couldn't believe this when I was going back to it, the OC just has like this intangible fucking coolness to it. Like it so beautifully captures, I think, like the feeling of being a teenager and living that life where you're kind of like, you know, getting into trouble and things are going wrong. And it can do a lot of it really well. It does relationships well, it does drama really well, it does comedy really well, and Ryan and Seth are constantly playing Dynasty Warriors for some reason, but I appreciate it. And I think a big part of that is that like the writing was genuinely like kind of sparse and careful and never like gave you more than it needed to. There's a really great piece of writing from season 3 that I love, and it's when Marissa is dating this bad boy, Volchek, who, don't worry, we'll get to Volchek. Basically, she's talking and she says to him about how when she was young, she used to watch The Sound of Music the whole time. And Volchek is like this kind of fucking asshole. He treats her really badly. He treats everyone really badly. He is a problem causer, which is something else we'll get to. And there's this moment where Marissa, after telling Volchek this about The Sound of Music, goes to his apartment. And when she gets there, the DVD of The Sound of Music is like on his table because he, unbeknownst to her, has tried to watch it in like an attempt to understand her. And it's like this moment where it's like, this guy fucking sucks, but it's this little moment of humanity where he is genuinely doing his best to try and empathize with someone else, even though he kind of can't. There's a lot of really subtle, interesting writing like that in the OC, and I think it's what kept so much of it just so engaging. It's also just really funny. Like, there's genuinely great jokes throughout the series. This one was one of my favorites.
Remember when the boys made us watch that movie about the gay guys on the mountain? Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
And yeah, it's really fun and really interesting and like beautifully shot. Like the direction behind the OC is so interesting in the way that like scenes will often start with this like really interesting and cool camera movement, and you know, it all just looks and feels so good. I remember watching this back in the day and thinking like, oh my god, these people live the most insane dream lives in these massive beautiful houses. And like since then, and seeing the way teen dramas went with shit like Riverdale and how just opulent everything is in that show, it nearly, the OC kind of just feels like cozy now by comparison. So the way the OC works is that there's two kinds of characters in the OC. You have problem causers and problem solvers. So when in season 1 you have Ryan, this like, you know, troublesome bad guy from Chino, and he is a problem causer. but he is trying to become a problem solver. His main mentor being Sandy, Seth's dad, who is just like the ultimate good guy in all things and just like so charmingly played by Peter Gallagher. And so Ryan is really trying to not cause trouble in his new life. He kind of just wants to be left alone and let go of all the trauma he faced from his bad upbringing. The only problem is that Marissa likes Ryan. The problem there being that Ryan likes her, but Marissa also has another boyfriend called Luke. And Marissa is also a problem causer. I can't think of a better way to put this, but Marissa is kind of addicted to having a boyfriend, but then also having a sad other boy who also likes her that she intentionally or unintentionally uses to make her original boyfriend jealous. This cycle repeats over the course of the show ad nauseum. And so a lot of the early season is pretty much, I would say you could sum up the entire storyline of the first season by Marissa being in a room with Ryan, and then her boyfriend Luke comes in and goes like, and some sad piano music plays, and that leads to some confusion, which results in Ryan and Luke trying to punch each other. A bunch of shit happens. It's all very teen drama-y, but entertaining, and it kind of stays that way. Seth has his love triangle where there's two girls, Anna and Summer, who are both vying for his attention, and it's just generally a really entertaining season of television. Now, one thing I would say that did stand out to me a little bit is that there's like no black people in this season, like none, like even in background shots, and it just stood out to me because, you know, I've been to California and there were black people there. Yeah. Then we get to season 2, and season 2 is like fucking just peak teen drama. I genuinely loved this season. I felt so nostalgic watching it, not even because I watched a lot of the OC when I was young, but because I felt like it was so like endemic of what being a teenager was in the early 2000s. I grew up as like the last generation of teenager who grew up without social media as part of their adolescence. It was only when I got to college that social media became a thing, and the OC is about as late as you can get in television where people are being teenagers without social media. And it's crazy, like so much of it feels so modern and has aged so well, and then someone will take out a flip phone and take like the shittiest digital photograph you have ever seen. But this season is cool because it introduces some really good characters like Alex, who becomes Marissa's lesbian lover. Basically, things get complicated between Ryan and Marissa, like they always fucking do, and they break up. And that is just going to keep happening. Ryan and Marissa fight more than they spend time together. And so Marissa goes off and has this lesbian relationship, which on television in the early 2000s was fucking insane. Like, it was crazy to see a show this popular with a gay relationship in it. Now, it doesn't last that long. The way it ends is that Alex comes home and Marissa has moved in with her, and Alex is just like, oh, your half of the rent will be due by the end of the week. And Marissa just like freaks the fuck out, and that's the end of the relationship. So I guess that one wasn't meant to be. And then they kind of paint it like she kind of just did it to make her mom, Julie, mad. Marissa's parents are also significant characters in this show, and Julie kind of has the look of a woman who would stab you to death for little to no provocation at all, which means I immediately fell in love with her and remained that way for the entire rest of the series. And Jimmy is the first in a long line of men that Julie will settle for. Julie also really hates Ryan and is constantly plotting to have Ryan murdered or something. Season 2 also introduces Trey, Ryan's older brother. And Trey is a really interesting character because Ryan's whole like dynamic is him being caught between his more violent old ways that he learned in Chino and adapting to the more peaceful life of California, and people constantly seeing that he is this guy who can be provoked, who can be fucked with, and trying to fuck with him. And what Trey does, Trey has just gotten out of prison. He is basically this like person pulling Ryan back to the old ways. Trey is like the ultimate problem causer in the OC, and he is a huge problem, and it's compelling. You know, he's a really good addition to the gang, and Trey starts to become infatuated with Marissa, and it becomes like this real, like, if Ryan is like the wrong side of the tracks, Trey is like way further. He is like into drugs and all this kind of stuff, and this like kind of weird love triangle is, I think, the OC kind of at its peak. Like, it's just really super enjoyable, and Summer and Seth are in the background, breaking up and not breaking up. They also have a love triangle with this guy Zach. And Zach is just, he's a misfire. No one ever fucking believed that Summer was going to end up with Zach, but it doesn't matter. And I think where the show really hits like a dramatic peak, and I'm gonna have to drop a little content warning here because shit gets kind of real. Yeah, basically there is a scene where Trey tries to assault, in the worst way possible, Marissa. And it's really genuinely like very difficult to watch, and just it feels horrible, you know. And like it's very unflinching in like how it kind of shows this, and I think the show actually does a really good job of conveying like the trauma that this inflicts on Marissa, and like what this experience might be like for like a young teenage girl. And like it sucks, like it's bad. And from here, this has like really awful effects on Ryan and Marissa's relationship, because Marissa doesn't want to tell him. And it culminates with Ryan finding out in the last episode, and him going to Trey's apartment basically to beat his brother to death, and them getting into this horrible kerfuffle. A kerfuffle is such a fucking bad way of putting it. This horrible brawl, which results in Trey getting shot in what has to be one of the most iconic scenes in the history of teen drama. Like, what you say? Oh, that you only meant well. The way it's slowed down, the Imogen Heap music, just the devastation of every character in it. It's a really, honestly, beautiful piece of television, and I love it. It's such an exceptional season. Still, you know, I'm not trying to make a big deal about this, but just still, no black people at all. You got like maybe one or two who appear for a second and then go away. Just keeping track here. Then we get season 3. And for a lot of people, season 3 is this very divisive season, because season 3 is where the OC gets dark. So it starts off, Marissa has shot Trey, and legal proceedings are brought against her and Ryan, and it's all very complicated, and Trey is in a coma, and it's just fucking insane. Several new characters are introduced, such as a man whose name I refuse to look up. He was in Ugly Betty, and he's just evil teacher. You know when teen dramas bring in a teacher who just fucking hates the teenagers for no reason? This guy is like the ultimate form of that, and he's constantly trying to like provoke Ryan and Marissa, and it's so silly. Like, this character is what teachers feel like when you're a teenager, when the reality is they probably just don't fucking care. But it's so silly, and it's really fun. They also introduced Taylor Townsend, who will become a way more important character later on, and Taylor is the mildly psychotic, very preppy, very well-to-do kind of girl, and she's great. Her actor Autumn Reeser just plays her exceptionally, and then it's introduced that she is actually having an affair with the evil teacher, which was actually a really common storyline in teen dramas of this period and before it. There was a lot of really hot and steamy statutory rape plot lines. In fact, one of the ones in season 1 was Julie Cooper and Marissa's boyfriend Luke, which it's not great how it's depicted. kind of glad that we grew out of this season of television. This was also a storyline in Riverdale season 1, and it was also depicted as being this really hot and steamy thing before the series so desperately tried to undo that damage in season 6. But the real standout new character of season 3 is Johnny. So I talked earlier in the video about Marissa goes through this cycle of like having a boyfriend, but then having this like sad boy on the side who she also gets involved with, like not in a romantic way, but in enough of a way to make the original boyfriend jealous. And then eventually you kind of slide the boyfriend over, he goes away, the sad boy becomes the boyfriend, and then a new sad boy slides in for Marissa to become like mildly infatuated with. And Johnny from this season is the saddest little boy of all time. I swear to God, this fucking character, we spend so much of the season on Johnny. Basically, Johnny is Rickety Cricket from Always Sunny. Johnny is this character who, for whatever reason, he comes into the story and his interactions with the cast just make his life worse and worse and worse. Like, he comes into it and he's like this professional surfer and he's got friends and a girlfriend and he's happy, and then his girlfriend cheats on him because she's like, well, I can't compete with Marissa, and then he gets in a car accident and he gets both his legs broke, so he can't be a surfer anymore. He just gets really sad and he starts talking really low. Like, I swear to God, Fox, play some footage here of Johnny talking in the early parts of season 3 and Johnny talking in the last parts of season 3.
It's all right. Vice principal has all the locker assignments. I can walk you over there if you want. I got a lot of experience being sent to the vice principal's office. No matter what anyone says, it's still gonna be her choice.
It's like Marissa steals his fucking soul by helping him, but unintentionally just like destroying pieces of his life over and over and over. And like, it's just kind of comical. Eventually it gets to the point where Johnny, because he is in love with Marissa and can't be with her because Marissa's with Ryan, he gets drunk, and he also kind of becomes infatuated with Marissa's little sister Caitlin, who is also a character in this. I don't feel comfortable describing how she is often depicted. It's okay, but eventually Johnny gets drunk on a cliff and falls off and dies. It's very silly, it's very funny, and okay. But yeah, Johnny wasn't really a problem causer. He was just kind of there. But what he did do was enable Marissa's problem causing, but also bring into the world of our characters the biggest problem causer in the whole thing, Volchek. And I really like Volchek as a character. Part of it is just the dude is fucking hot. Like, Jesus Christ, look at this fucking guy. But another part of it is, and I don't think the show ever really gets there with him, I think there's like genuinely this dynamic with Volchek where he is a piece of shit, like he fucking sucks, but there is like a trace of humanity in there. There's a lot of really good scenes with him and Marissa, because once Johnny dies, it kind of destroys her and Ryan's relationship. So now she needs an even sadder boy, and Volchek is just the very saddest. And there's a really great scene where it's her and Volchek, and let's just play the clip.
We're hanging out. Seems like...
What?
You deserve to be treated right.
If I wanted to be treated right, I wouldn't be with you.
And I feel like lines like that, like dialogue exchanges like that, or where the OC are just, it's just fucking brimming with like this angst and drama in a way I love. Shit gets crazier and crazier over the course of season 3. And Marissa and Ryan actually like break up for reals, and it's kind of powerful because like they don't overstate it. Like the whole thing takes place over a phone call. It takes maybe 30 seconds. There's no like massive crying or anything, but it's sad, you know. And it's sad because like, yeah, you think about it, they shouldn't be together. They are bad for each other, you know. It sucks, but that's how it goes sometimes, you know. And then she gets Volchek, and this all culminates in Volchek going kind of insane because Marissa is going to leave town, and this is right at the end of the season, and Volchek rams Marissa and Ryan's car off the road, killing Marissa. Now, what happened here is that, and like, there's never been like a full explanation of why Misha Barton left the OC, but it seemed to be a choice inflicted on her. Now, she later came out and said, yeah, I didn't feel like safe on the set of the OC, so it seems like there was some real drama. My feeling was that there was some like drama with the cast or whatever, but like, that's only really me speculating. I don't know which it actually is, but it seems like some shit went down, and that like there was a lot of bad feelings towards the end of that. She was given the choice of either to sail off into the sunset or have Marissa die, and apparently she chose death. And it makes for a very, very dramatic end to the scene, and a really intriguing, like, what are we going to do in season 4? So season 4 starts, and I was very curious about this season because I was like, okay, is this going to be as bad as people says it is? I couldn't really remember too much of it from back in the day, but people are so divisive about this season. And I watched episode 1, and what I am met with is one of my favorite episodes of the OC. Now, they are cheating a little bit because they play a lot of Placebo's cover of Running Up That Hill, which both the versions of that song are one of my favorite songs of all time, and I liked it before Stranger Things, goddammit. And you get all these scenes of Ryan, and he's just like bathed in this amber light, and he's like in a fight club now, just like in Riverdale. And it's like, he is so fucked up from Marissa dying, and God, the entire episode is just steeped with such angst. And the reveal at the end is that him and Julie, again, another favorite character of mine, minus the underage, and Julie and Ryan are doing something. They are meeting up at a hotel room in a mysterious way. And the reveal we get is that they are meeting up because Julie is paying to have Volchek tracked down so Ryan can kill him. And it's such a great episode. It's so beautifully directed, and it really feels like it delivers on the promise of the big explosive ending of season 3. Like, just phenomenal stuff. What proceeds after that is maybe the worst season of television I have ever seen in my entire life. Basically, the entire Volchek storyline is wrapped up within 2 episodes. He just goes to jail, and Ryan's like, it's cool, bro. And after this, the OC becomes a different show. I swear to God, watching this season of the OC feels like having this like cool friend that you go to parties with, and then you show up at one party and it's someone dressed in the same clothes as your friend, but like doing a bad impression of them, and you're like, wait, who the fuck are you? And everyone around you is like, are you friends with this person? And you're like, no, I don't know who this is. And it is just fucking awful, and you can feel it immediately once they wrap up the Volchek storyline. The way the show looks, the way it's shot, the way it feels, it all feels so weird and different, and it becomes like the most vanilla shit possible. You know, the OC was this show that I feel like, you know, it had gay storylines, it had drugs, it had like all these like quite, for the time in teen drama stories, like taboo plots, but plots that teens actually went through. You know, it was drawing from like the very difficult life experiences of a lot of teenagers. And then this just becomes like a fucking, like a Ned Flanders side episode. And so now what happens is that the entire dynamic of the show changes, and Taylor becomes a main character, and her and Ryan get put together as a couple. And they're actually like kind of cute initially. You're kind of like, okay, because like Ryan just doesn't want anything to do with her, and she's kind of like stalking him, and it's like a little bit fun, but it's just mind-numbing. For starters, the show doesn't have any problem causers anymore. Everyone is just kind of nice and trying their best. There's no antagonists, there's no villains, there's no edgy storylines. It's just like nothing happens. And so at the start of like every new episode, they basically just reset every storyline back to zero. And like there's a couple of storylines that run for like 2 or 3 episodes, but those storylines will be like Taylor's secret French husband comes back, and this fucking guy, he's like a cereal box mascot version of a French person. French viewers, I'm not gonna get angry on your behalf, but you just should check out this fucking guy. It's ridiculous.
Oh, that won't be necessary. Now, who should I make it out to? A girlfriend, perhaps? What is her name? I see I'm in the doghouse.
Henri, these places come with bathtubs.
Bedding is for the bourgeois. Now tell me, Peaches, how have I offended you? Now don't move. The light.
And the way season 4 handles Marissa's death is like, it's so fucking weird. Basically, Summer has this like montage where she goes through like the stages of grief in a single week, and then she's literally like, I'm cured, and that's it. At this point, Marissa is like erased from the show, and none of the characters feels sad that she's gone. There's even a flashback scene later on, and Marissa's like not in it. Like, it's them as kids, and they're just like, they don't even mention her, and it's fucking so strange. Some of the other characters introduced are Bullet, who is he's basically like if Yosemite-san was a billionaire, and he is again yet another entry into Julie's long line of unworthy lovers. But I think the worst thing about it is just like the characters don't feel like the characters, you know? It just doesn't feel like any of them have any of the kind of like sharpness or like concise dialogue writing or story arcs, and it just feels like a season where everyone just kind of bumbles around and nothing really happens. And I think what makes it worse is Adam Brody has like gone on record saying that like it got to a point with the OC with him where it wasn't creatively fulfilling anymore. And holy shit, can you feel that from him here. Him and Rachel Bilson, both actors I really like, are both they just don't care. Summer goes off to college where she becomes a hippie. She adopts a rabbit named Pancakes, which is pretty cute, but it just... none of it feels like these characters. It just all feels so like insincere. It feels like a completely different creative team have taken over the show, and I don't know if they have or not, but that's how it feels. Although we do get one recurring black character, and it's Chris Brown. Yeah, that's what I wanted. It's crazy to watch Chris Brown here because like he's not good. Like, it feels like a lot of his lines have to be re-recorded in post because he mumbles so much, and it's wild just like watching this like little fumbling actor and knowing that in a few short years he would grow up to assault a woman.
I'm not like the other guys at this school. I don't play water polo, and I really don't listen to you.
Look, little drummer boy. Miss Tidy said that you had to help me with...
I've seen people defend season 4 of the OC. In fact, it's gone through somewhat of a reappraisal in recent times. And to those people, I say, you're not wrong for liking what you like, but I would never be friends with you. And yeah, it sucks that the OC ends on such a just fucking wet fart. It really feels like it stops being like a teen drama and starts being just like a light kind of family comedy drama. Ryan's dad comes back and he sucks, but then no, he's actually a good guy, but then he sucks again, but then no, he's actually a good guy, and it's just all fucking nothing. Like, the characters, they never like... they change so much episode to episode. Sometimes one person's mad at another, and then the next episode happens and the person who's being mad at becomes mad at the other. It's all fucking... it's so weak and it sucks so much. And I really... like, I remember watching episodes of this back in the day. God, there's one episode where fucking Ryan and Taylor get caught in an alternate reality. Why does this keep happening? The teen dramas I watch. There's another episode where Ryan keeps having these really fucking like weird, horny daydreams about Taylor, where she has like... she kind of looks like she's in an 80s music video, and you're just watching it being like, this is like the corniest shit imaginable. what happened to my fucking cool, edgy teen drama? You know, what happened to this show that felt like it had its like finger on the pulse of adolescence? And I think what happened there is just it got probably too dark for a lot of people, and I think season 3 notably had like much less ratings than season 1 and 2, and they tried to save it by turning it into this poppy fucking garbage. And yeah, it really kind of sucked, and it was such a bummer to end on. But what I would say is, like, I think my takeaway from the OC is, like, when it was good, I was shocked at how good it was. Like, I'm not saying this is like prestige television. I'm not saying this stacks up to like a Sopranos or Mad Men or anything like that. But if you like teen drama, it's a genuinely great show to go back to. And even if you watch Riverdale for my Riverdale stuff and you find yourself like enjoying that kind of storytelling, I genuinely think the OC season 2, that might be the best season of teen drama I've ever seen. I think it beats the shit out of like so many others, like even stuff like Dawson's Creek, which, you know, was a solid show as well in places, but I genuinely think the OC has its beat for, like, you know, the performances of the characters, the level of writing, and just the beautiful way the show is directed. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the OC, because I can't watch anything now without feeling a need to make one of these videos about it. Okay, goodbye.